Hey, what's up guys? Casey here with Talk Nintendo and Nintendo World Report, joined by Rupert, the Game Director of Fox and Force here at PAX East 2018. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Awesome, awesome. Now, we've got this beautiful looking game over here, and for those who don't really know about it, why don't you give us a rundown exactly what it is?
So this is Fox and Forest. It's a 16-bit style action platformer with RPG and puzzle elements. And the cool thing about it is that you can seamlessly switch between two predefined seasons per level.
Awesome, okay. So, tell me a little bit about the RPG elements, because obviously when you sort of look at it, you can tell, all right, the platformer, but how do the RPG elements exactly come into play when you're playing?
So basically it was always our big dream to make a perfect Super Nintendo game, right? So we're combining the Super Nintendo look and feel with modern game design. And this is where the RPG elements come in. So for example, your character Rick the Fox, you can upgrade his moves, right? So you can buy better moves, and then with the new moves you can access new parts of the levels. Then you earn gold, and you can spend your gold in the hub area with different types of shots to expand your mana bar that you need when you switch the seasons, to expand your heart meter and so on. Then we have 4 types of resources in the game: gold, as I just mentioned, then mana ore to upgrade your mana bar, then we have grindstones, and you need them to sharpen your bayonet. And then we also have magic seeds, and you need to collect 5 magic seeds per level in order to progress through the game and unlock new parts of the forests.
Awesome, awesome. Now, when you say abilities, is it like upgrading a standard set of maybe just a handful of abilities, or as you continue throughout the game, are you continuously sort of getting new and different ways to play the game per se?
Sorry, I just got a little bit distracted by your friend playing. Because, so this is perfect, because now it is the right time to switch seasons. We're pressing one of the lower shoulder buttons. Exactly. And when you switch seasons, it uses mana on top of the screen. You can see your mana bar depletes, right? Exactly, that's exactly the gameplay element. You switch seasons to unlock new parts of the level, and you need to hurry up as well, right?
It's going back up now.
Exactly, it goes back up automatically, right? But you can also find pickups like hearts or mana crystals that will refill your mana bar more quickly.
Awesome.
So, and here, these are destructibles and the treasure chest, and you can only open them with a melee attack. So if you press down and attack, you do a melee attack, or
Sorry. Which melee attack?
down and
attack.
Oh, okay.
or up and attack, you can do it as well. Press up and attack, and you can do an up slash. So that's the unique thing about Fox and Forests, that the magic melee crossbow, the weapon of Rick the Fox, right? It's used for close-up attacks, for ranged attacks, and also for commanding the seasons.
Awesome.
And, you asked me about like the upgrade system earlier. So basically, yeah, Rick can get new moves throughout the game. So for example, there's a stomp attack. You have to double jump, press down and attack, and then with the stomp attack you can destroy stone platforms and you can reach new parts of the level.
Awesome. I saw now when we shifted seasons just there, it went from, for those listening, it went from like a springtime to a winter, and the lake froze over so that you could bypass it. Are there any other, I don't want to obviously spoil any of the fun bits that might be used for, but maybe another example of what players could expect?
Of course, so every level in Fox and Forest feels differently, right? So here we have spring and winter. In another level, we have fall and winter, and in fall there's a lot of fog and mist and you can't see very well, but when you switch to winter, the fog disappears. In another level, for example, you can switch from spring to fall, and in fall, big leaves will fall down from the air, and you can use these leaves as platforms. And then with a very cool level, it's like a big windmill, and you have to climb up the windmill, and there are a lot of mechanics like conveyor belts and elevators. And if you switch from fall, where the windmill is active, to spring, where there's no wind anymore, all these mechanics will stop.
That is really cool.
Right there, I just switched to winter. And I passed a beehive, and they were in hibernation. So I can sneak past them.
That's really clever. Now, with these sort of retro-inspired, as you said, the 16-bit Super Nintendo, I always wonder, did you come up with like all right, I sort of want to do like a forest idea with, you know, and then sort of went there, or did you sort of decide, all right, we want to do a platformer, how can we sort of wrap that into the aesthetic? You know, was it you know, the egg before the chicken, you know, kind of thing?
Well, the story goes like this, that I was importing the Super Famicom, the Japanese version of the Super Nintendo back in the days, in the 90s, with my brother, right? And from that day on, I always wanted to make a Super Nintendo game. And yeah, so the look and feel always had to be Super Nintendo, but yeah, basically me and the whole team who were working on this game then took all the elements we love from our favorite Super Nintendo games and combined them in Fox and Forests. So we have elements from Actraiser 2, from Mega Man X, from the Castlevania series, from A Link to the Past, from the Castle of Illusions, but also from Genesis games like Wonder Boy, Monsterland, and yeah, so it's basically taking.
I was hoping I could freeze the water so that the thing that jumped out of the water would just hit it when it came back down. That's funny.
So yeah, the season switch is not only a platforming thing, you can also outfox enemies that way sometimes.
Well, I was going to actually ask, was the season-changing thing something that you had going into making this game, or was it maybe just sort of a natural progression of, you know, like, oh, actually, you know, that might be cool to sort of integrate that with how it would alter each level? And I mean, I love the idea that you can go through a level once and then sort of change it, you know, to be different. You know, I think that's a really clever idea.
Thanks very much. I'm glad you like it. Believe it or not, the idea of a season switch mechanic came when I was playing Ikaruga, the shooter Ikaruga on the GameCube.
Yeah, I remember that. That game's crazy too. Ikaruga? Oh yeah. Oh man, that's really cool. I mean, I guess did you know Switch was sort of a target? You know, obviously we're Nintendo World Report, so that's our jam. You know, was that something like, oh, we want to always get it out on, you know, as many platforms as possible, or is it more once you sort of saw the success of how well this, you know, indies are doing on the Switch is pretty phenomenal, you know?
I mean, yeah, the success of the Switch is just wonderful. I'm so happy. I'm happy for every, as a developer, happy for every successful system, of course. But personally, I'm a real Super Nintendo nerd. I have huge retro collections of Super NES games. And so, of course, it was always me and the team's dream to release on a Nintendo console. And now that the Switch fits perfectly to a title like Fox and Forest, I think it couldn't be any better.
I mean, I guess you'd mentioned, to sort of bring us to an end here, you'd mentioned different characters coming in. Is that you unlock characters as you go, or is there a couple you can pick between, or how does that exactly work?
No, characters, you only have Rick the Fox, like he's your number one character, but he has got a sidekick, it's Patty the Partridge, and they are not friends actually. Of course, they have this love-hate relationship, because on one hand, Patty wants Rick to help her to free the forests of this mystery that all the seasons are stuck, right? On the other hand, she's pretty annoying. So there are some levels, shoot-em-up levels, where you can sit on Patty, and they are like parodious, like, you know, horizontal shoot-em-up levels.
Awesome. Sort of reminds me of like Donkey Kong Country when they bring those side people in.
And one last thing which is important, you can switch your shot, because when you... So this is something we got from Mega Man, right? So when you kill bosses, then you get better shots, and then you can go back to older levels and shoot corresponding targets. So for example, green targets with the green shot, and unlock new parts of the level.
Oh great, that's awesome. An emphasis on replayability is always a good thing, you know. Now I guess I see May 2018. Do we know an exact date for that yet, or is it just sort of the May window?
It's the May window.
May window. And I guess last question, are they going to be a simultaneous release? You know, I know sometimes the Switch comes a little later. Is it the goal to have them all out in the same day?
The goal is to have a simultaneous release, and we are in lot check at the moment, and it's looking very good that we will reach that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Rupert. I really appreciate you giving us the time today.
Thanks so much. Have a good one.